Welcome, everybody, to our monthly Heart Warriors meetup here on a Saturday afternoon. I hope you guys are all doing all right. This is a meet, not so much a lecture or anything like this. We always use this to welcome new Heart Warriors, welcome. Um, I was going to say old Heart Warriors, but that would be unfair. Veteran Heart Warriors, and to discuss subjects that have been in the foreground here in these past weeks, often also reflecting on the marathon, the last marathon that we had. It's been 2 weeks since we had the marathon. I don't know about you guys. It seems like ages ago. Um, hey there, Annette, I see you. Do we have good audio and good video? Do you see the hardware symbol there on your screen and hear me all right? Okay. Yeah. So obviously we in the middle of August here, uh, still COVID situation 2020. We have a lot of outer challenges, a lot of inner challenges that come with this. Right now, there's a lot of frustration in people, frustration that sometimes also morphs into anger. There's a lot of confusion about the present situation, and with this, obviously, the future. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. It's a lot of sort of uncertainty and I guess what we could call unclarity about where things are going and where we should take things. The Grace Soul Integrity Marathon was extremely complex. It was very beautiful. It was one of those extremely beautiful sort of heart warrior moments. Actually, some of you even mentioned the word heart warrior moments that you've experienced there. So that part was extremely nice. Obviously, we went through severe ups and downs, and I don't want to go into the reflection of this marathon because there was enough said and written about it, but I do want to just for those of you who were there, um, give sort of kudos to you. I want to point out to you, and I've said this in the energy tips that are going out tonight as well. I'm seeing a lot of progress in many of you right now, and I would love to talk to you about that. I would love to talk to you about how to measure progress. How do we know that we are? What does this even mean, progressing? All we know is that as humans, we have a tendency to measure our happiness with progress. So, studies that were made, research around the subjects of happiness and success, they all point into this direction, namely that we feel happy, we feel a certain degree of contentment if we feel that we have accomplished something. And this accomplishment could be anything from overcoming a certain fear or um, getting over something that was previously challenging for us, or letting go of something that we carried around as a burden. And I'd love to hear your guys's view on this, like how you do this for yourself and how you would even know, subjectively, if you are experiencing progress. Who wants to share a little bit? Well, let me ask you, who of you is actually feeling this themselves? Before going into the details of how you even measure, the benchmark by which you measure if you're progressing or not, and this could be pertaining anything in your life. any areas of life. There's many different areas of life. There's obviously the physical, the emotional, like how we feel about ourselves, the self-esteem, the social components, how we feel with our relationships, how we feel with our job, how we feel with our financial situation, how we feel with the world, our involvement in that, like our contribution to the world, or feeling needed or feeling useful. So there's many different components, not to mention obviously the spiritual component, or maybe the energetic management, how good we are in sort of regulating and managing our own energies. No matter which of these areas you feel this, I would just like to hear from you, and as many different ways of describing this, the better, how you measure progress for yourself. How do we measure progress? If you're not sure how to measure it, or if you're not sure if you're feeling that you're progressing, would you like to share anyway? It always comes down to our inner experience, of course, but when we think about what we're doing here, which has to do with training our consciousness, training our loving attentiveness, perhaps even training our self-love and the way we interact with others, and so many more things that have to do with intangible things, right? I mean, this has to do with our motivation too. What motivates you to keep going? What brings or makes this kind of work something that you want to invest in, that you want to spend time with, that you want to engage with? That's a way to approximate this part in you, like what are you getting out of it? Not so much specifically the Heart Warrior program, because that's not really one particular thing. The Heart Warrior program is nothing but a discipline. It's a training ground, like a gym for consciousness training, for truth training, and it helps us to develop or to rarefy or to refine certain parts of our perception, maybe also our decision making processes, and how we respond to the world. So it's not one particular thing, it's really just to learning the discipline of that and learning how to cultivate that. Who of you has thoughts about this? Obviously many of you, except for those who come to the boot camp, which is 3 months, but those of you who continue after the boot camp, you can make this choice every month to continue. So there's got to be something in you that feels like there's a development or there's some kind of progress going on for you to be motivated even to do this self-mastery with us here.
Hello.
Hi there.
It's
I'm
Annette.
so glad you breaking the ice here, Annette. I was thinking about, okay, if nobody wants to share, well then I just say goodbye.
No, it's because it's a good question, and why I think I can't stop continuing, and I was thinking, um, for me, I think it's something. I know there is something there that yeah, I know there's more for me than I have now. Perhaps I have it sometimes, but I know there is more, and it's because of that I continue, and Yeah, it's a lot of many small things who is better for me. I was thinking about fear. I have been so I have had so much fear of the corona situation, and I'm not. I have not any fear more, and yeah, fear of cancer and many things who gets better for me, and it's huge. And because of that, I can't stop. Um, yeah, I
I,
think
li
it's
I like how you said that. There's
uh,
more. Like there's an
yeah.
there's something from in on the inside,
Yeah,
right?
and
That
I know there's more. I can't say exactly what it is, but I
hmm
can feel there is more. Um, and there's something in my life I want to change, and yeah, um,
I know exactly what you mean, Annette. It's sometimes hard to put words to
yeah,
this because
yeah,
there's not a particular goal, right? It's not like, oh, I want to make a certain amount of money. And then, it's easy for me to tell, obviously, because it's somehow tangible, right?
mm, yeah,
When I arrive there. But this is more like an unraveling or like opening a box. And
yeah,
inside that
yeah,
box is another box. And
yeah,
inside that box is another box. And
yeah,
the,
exactly, yeah,
yeah, it's like little gifts are in these boxes, gifts that we didn't even, well, maybe we didn't know about them. Maybe we didn't appreciate them before. Because it's not like, you have entirely new insights every day.
no, that's
It's
right.
more that you understand how it relates to another, or maybe how the use of certain things, right? I mean, there's things we've all known all along. We know that regular exercise and regular meditation and talking about our feelings and all these things, that these are good things for us, right? That they're
Mm,
healthy for us, that they help us to grow, that they help us to you know get past challenges, the connection with ourselves, connection with other people, that's generally a good thing. But so many times, though, we find ourselves alone, we find ourselves abandoned almost, disconnected from ourselves, from other people. And then we don't seem to be able to remember this, right?
mm, yeah,
Isn't that what
yeah,
it is? You see,
yeah,
these little gifts are not necessarily all new information, really. It's more like the context that we begin to realize of what this can really do for us. Do you mind? I'm really, really happy that you're sharing, Annette. I want to add something. I want to add a little story to what you just said. I had a conversation with my sister today. So I
mm,
have two sisters and three brothers, and they are generally we're good. Have a good relationship. Not very intimate though. We live in different countries. Okay, fine. We all have kids. There's many things that connect us, but we're distinctly different from another. And I had a conversation with my sister today, and she told me like she had just discovered the biggest secret of her life. She told me that she went down the beach in Denmark
ah,
and she had this beautiful experience of connecting with her heart. And she explained to me how it felt to her and how she could feel this in her body and how warm she felt and how much she thought about our childhood together and some of the beautiful things and some of the not so beautiful, but for the most part, she described in a very sort of cool way, very, open way, what it felt like for her to, for the first time, to consciously experience connecting with her heart.
Mm.
And it was, of course, a beautiful thing for me because I, I don't, I'm not the teacher, obviously, for my siblings. You know, they see me how they want to see me,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it was a cue for me, right? It was something,
Yeah.
a signal where I could see, okay, something opened up for her
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
And I wanted to let her know that this is really, really cool because this is not just something that can happen to her at the beach in Denmark on
No.
vacation. This is something that could happen to her every day,
Yeah.
right? And she was all interested all of a sudden, right after 30 years of being sort of the woo-woo girl in the family, right? She was like, "What do you mean every day?" And I'm like, "Well, you know, this is something that we can cultivate. This is
Yeah.
something we can train. You know, this is what I do for living." I said, "I train people to connect with this part in them, and not so much just to reminiscence about the past or anything like that. Some people go through very big challenges, but more so to be able to experience themselves better, to know
Mm.
themselves more." And this, when you just shared, Annette, that's what I heard. What I heard you say is that you can experience yourself more and that you begin to get excited about yourself.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
perhaps the stuff, the little things that are still hidden in there somewhere in you that were always there, but you didn't necessarily have conscious access to.
Mm. Yeah, it's right.
So this is something that I'm seeing with many of you right now. Obviously, you know, some of you are here for a few months, and some of you are here for years. You know, voluntarily, and you have all these different experience throughout the years. And you know, some times are you know, the things move faster, and at sometimes things just stagnate a little bit. But that's just like with physical exercise, right? That doesn't mean that we stop exercising, right? Um, so it's not always this sort of aware feeling of, wow, there's really a big change for me right now. But that's what I'm seeing in a lot of you heart warriors right now. And I just really wanted to give this back to you as a, not that you need my approval, but I really want to let you know that I can tell just from the pure energetic point of view, where I have your energies in transmissions and workshops and so forth, where I hear you, you know, say things that are indicating that things are really opening up for you. And this is a really beautiful experience for me as a coach, because I can see that, you know, it's really difficult to tell people, well, you know, what you want to work on is probably going to take years, right? It's not an event, it's a
No.
process, right? And people look at me and then they ask, will this ever end? Right? And I'm like, oh, well, I can't really answer this so with a clear yes or no. You know, and so depending on, you know, like the rapport that we have,
Mm.
I'll eventually say, well, look, it will never end, but that's not because it's so bad. It's because you will not want it to end.
Mm. Yeah.
More like that. You will get excited about and curious about what you discover, and you will see this as a continuum, you know, that allows you to, as we've already mentioned, you know, to get to know yourself better, but also to see others differently and to see the world differently, and perhaps then become able to make these changes, right? That you talked about, Annette, the fears, for instance. You were
Mm.
really, really anxious about some of these practical challenges right now,
Mm. Yeah.
right? Like getting sick. you know, or maybe
yeah.
having cancer, or, you
Mm,
know, and all the social anxiety that comes with that this triggers in us, right? Not
mm,
wanting to go outside, or being unsure, you know, sort of what we can even do, you know, with in connection with others. And to hear you say this, Annette, you know, that this is some of the sort of practical use or practical progress, you know, since we were talking about, or since I've asked, how do you measure progress and how does it show for you, right? Regardless of what area in your life. Um, that is a huge statement, you know,
mm,
for someone to say, I was really scared and I didn't know how to handle this in my practical life. And I don't feel that way anymore. And I feel this getting better even in other areas as well. Now, Annette, as a wise one now, as a veteran hard warrior that you are, what did it for you? How did you overcome some of these fears, especially in regards of
uh,
physical?
for me, I think the uh, coaching is really huge for me. And it's because earlier in my life, uh, I have not told many people about my fear of cancer, and because I have been embarrassed or something like that. So, but I have realized when I tell about it and have some coaching, it can change nearly immediately some of the fear, and it has been really huge for me to experience that, how important it is to talk about it.
To just simply express it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And to then, you know, sort of maybe layer for layer, it's almost like you are allowing yourself to process it, you know, by going through it, by saying, okay, I'm afraid or I'm
mm,
anxious about this subject and that and that, and that this could happen and this could, and it's like when you start talking about it, it alleviates us. It's like almost you relieve yourself of a burden that you carry like a secret
yeah.
inside of
I,
you.
yeah, yeah. I
I mean,
think it's
obviously, the coaching of it also always implies, you know, strategies, you know, on how
yeah,
to overcome those
yeah, yeah, yeah,
particular issues.
yeah.
But it is
It,
quite interesting to hear you say this because you are by profession a social worker,
yeah,
and you are supposed to motivate others to
yeah,
talk about their stuff,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I know.
Now, in your job, Annette, I mean, you live in Denmark, you're Danish. Thank you very much for
Yeah,
speaking English with us. I really appreciate that. As a trilingual, I know how difficult that is
yeah,
to
yeah,
talk about these deeper things.
yeah,
But when you are with your clients who you can pick up on, you know, have a hard time maybe talking about things,
yeah.
have you noticed that as a, you know, as somebody who consciously works with these things, who has cultivated expressing, you know, these deeper things that you barely share with other people, have you noticed a difference now in people responding to you, especially maybe your work situation, because you talk to people all day long, right? And it's all difficult subjects that they have, right? Have you
Well,
noticed a difference there?
yeah, I think so because I have changed my way to talk with them,
Oh,
and but it's really difficult to explain how. But I think there is a change. I use myself more than I have done before.
you mean
Um,
as example, you share more from yourself? Is that
yeah,
what you mean?
yeah, yeah. we have always been told that we should not tell much about ourselves in my job, but I'm doing that, and it helps me so much when you told something about yourself, and then I have thought, yeah, I can do some of it in my way, but I think it helps people, many people, to hear a little about how I how I have done something.
Mhm.
Um,
Or even how you have struggled with things, right? That
yeah,
helps a
yeah,
person to
yeah,
connect with
yeah.
you.
I share some of this with some of my clients. Um, yeah,
Would you say that it actually made your work more enjoyable for you or more fulfilling? I don't know. I don't want to put
yeah.
words in your
No,
mouth, but
but yeah, it depends a little on my clients, but yeah, I like it more.
are you seeing
Definitely.
the people? Are you seeing your clients differently today, or even other people that you interact with, friends, family, or coworkers? Have you noticed that your way of relating to other people, or how you see them, or maybe even how they see you,
I
that this has
think
changed?
I'm more aware of my own stuff now, and in relation to my sister, it's a little easier for me to handle things, and I'm not getting so angry. I can let it go sometimes, not always, but and it's more enjoyable for both of us. Um, I I think it's easier for me to see it in my family relations.
Now,
Um,
this is interesting that you had a sister topic come up as well. Would you like to share a little bit about this, Annette? That your conclusions, like what made it possible for you to overcome, you said you mentioned anger or frustration that you had around your sister or being with your sister. Indeed, you
yeah,
mentioned
it's
letting go. How did you,
yeah,
what would you like to share a bit?
yeah. I can do that. I have a sister who drinks too much, and I have a family where alcohol has been a problem in my childhood, and I was so angry at my sister when she drinks too much, and she can feel my anger. I'm sure of that, and it was not really good for us to be together when she was drinking, but um, and
Did you express your anger? I mean, was that something like where you would say, "Hey, sister, I'm like really angry at
no,
you"?
I think it was more passive aggressive.
Okay.
Uh, but now yeah, of course, I know I can't do anything with her drinking, but it's sometimes it's more easy for me to let it go and be together um, with her drinking um, and say okay, and we can enjoy each other and be together and laugh and I like that really much.
What in,
Sometimes,
sorry.
no, sometimes I can't. I'm getting frustrated, but sometimes it's yeah, I can be together with her without anger and frustration.
Now, since we're talking about progress here and how to measure progress, right? And how we can see sort of changes maybe in our relationships or how we deal with other people. Annette, what do you think? What was the insight that you had, or maybe a change in your behavior, or that really made a difference here for you. So you have a sister who drinks too much. Obviously, that's a
Mm.
problem. That's a long-standing problem. You're not gonna change that, right?
No.
So, but it made you angry and created a lot of stress for you, or passive aggressive
Mm.
pressure, things like that.
Yeah.
But what changed it? We're talking about progress here. What can you pinpoint, as where you've made progress? Because,
I
progress is most likely not to be
yeah.
expected from your sister, right? But what did
No.
you
Yeah.
change?
I think perhaps it's about responsibility in a way, because I I think that I can see that it's my responsibility to decide what I want, and in a
Okay.
way it set me a little more free, that it's not her who have to change. Uh, I think it's I feel a little more freedom here.
So more like the freedom for you to decide how you want it, or
Yeah, yeah,
maybe boundaries as well. Like, um, I mean, I'm leading my question. My questions are leading a little bit because we've already talked about this, so I kind of
yeah.
know what it is that you changed. But I think it's very important to become aware of this, and here within this group of heart warriors, it's a wonderful example for this kind of insight. Okay, when we have trouble with our loved ones, right?
Mm,
I think, if you don't mind me sort of jogging your memory, what you realized is that you are the one that has the trouble. She doesn't have the trouble with it. I mean, she doesn't,
no,
for whatever reason, she might deflect it or deny it. That's her problem.
yeah,
But when you love her, you want to be with her. So when you
yeah,
want to be with her, there's something in you, that can choose whether you are all upset and angry about
yeah,
this,
yeah,
or if you just simply decide, like, okay, I can be with her for as long as she's not drunk,
yeah,
or I can
yeah.
be with her for as long as she doesn't snore,
Mm,
or
yeah,
like things
yeah,
like, I mean, don't get me wrong here. I'm not talking about just choosing to just suck it up. That would lead to frustration
yeah,
and passive aggressiveness and anger again. And that's the pattern that you've observed in the last 60 years with your
yeah,
sister, right?
yeah,
But there's also other ways. What I hear you say is that you experience more freedom now because you have given yourself more freedom,
mm, yeah,
perhaps, to decide what is acceptable for you and what isn't, and to
yeah,
to just walk out maybe when it doesn't work for you, and to let her be who
yeah,
she chooses to be. I mean,
yeah,
that is not going to change.
no, no,
I- is that kind of like where this is going? That you gave yourself the
yeah,
freedom?
yeah, yeah. I think,
Because you said
yeah,
responsibility, so you said, like, when I hear responsibility, I always hear boundaries, right?
yeah. I think it's
My responsibility to say,
yeah,
okay, till here and not farther, like, and I don't have to vilify, I don't have to make the other person feel bad about it. I can just say, well, I gotta leave now. It was
yeah,
nice evening,
yeah,
but now I gotta go, or something like that. Is that where it goes?
yeah, yeah. It is.
Th- This is a really, really complex subject, Annette. Obviously, there are many components of this, right? But we were talking about how we can see differences in our life. And you gave a wonderful example here by sharing in how the way you look at things can change your behavior. And also, how you feel about it,
mm,
right? It's something that you changed within yourself, not that you became differently. You were still the same person,
mm,
and you're not suppressing anything anymore. On the contrary, you gave yourself the freedom. Well, what is it? To have your own likes and dislikes, to have your own boundaries, to be yourself,
mm,
right?
yeah,
And to express that. And that can be freeing. That can be
mm,
like just like how you shared earlier about the fears of illness, the fears of getting sick with corona or having cancer or something, that
mm,
just sharing that, but also, being very clear about sort of your part in this, right? And how changing your view, your perspective, your perception about it, and perhaps even, changing your responses to it, how that can change the energy for yourself, right?
yeah,
So that you
yeah,
end up not having to deal with anger anymore.
mm, yeah, and it's
Now,
huge. Yeah,
it is huge. And
yeah,
for those of you who came a little later here, we are talking about how to measure progress and, the meaning also of this work here. What does this continual heart warrior, consciousness work really help us with, and what does it do for us? And Annette shared that uh, the reason why she continues and what motivates her is that she feels that there's more. And it's like opening little boxes, little, things about her. And there's boxes inside there that layer for layer, make her more and more excited about getting to know herself better. And I commented as well that I'm noticing this awareness making for a lot of you heart warriors right now that make you feel like you're progressing a lot right now. And Annette, that all that said, maybe you want to share where you're from, but if you just look at what you just did here with us, sharing, telling, things from yourself, talking about your fears and how you overcame things. How long did it take you to even consider doing something like the Heart Warrior program and exposing yourself in that way because you felt your English wasn't good enough, that this would never work, you know? And can you see this now if you look back,
yeah,
a year and a half, how much progress you have made here as a person, not like as a, like needing to heal from something, but just your ability to express things here
yeah,
in
it,
such, it's
yeah,
huge.
it's right. I have never thought that I should talk loudly uh, because I know it's difficult for me to speak in a different language. So yeah,
So it's okay to take this moment and celebrate this with yourself. This is when it comes to these intangible goals, as we talked about in the beginning, where
mm,
it's not like a certain amount of money or a certain type of house or a certain type of
mm,
car or whatever, these
ah,
more tangible goals are. It's hard to measure them, and that's why it's very important that we go through this in a conscious way, that we show ourselves, where we've made strides. And even if we still struggle with things or if we still work on things, that, you know, some of these more subtle things, I loved how you shared how it affected your work and little subtle changes that you made there, how they helped you to connect better with your clients and
Mm.
how they're sharing more with you. You know, that this is not just something that affects us alone. We're no longer acting in this sort of isolated, singular bubble. We are also affecting other people with that. We are also impacting our relationship, and with that, or relationships, and with that, other people and the world. So I want you guys all, you know, no matter where you feel you're at, you know, obviously there's no benchmarks, you know, of consciousness work. There only is sort of our own declaration of being aware right now. Being aware right now, that is what shows us that we are conscious. Okay, and every time we are on autopilot, or we are acting from certain patterns, or going through certain cycles, that communicates to us that we are not conscious. And so, you know, each of these opportunities here to talk, to share, to come together, or even just write something, or, you know, coaching, or transmissions where we go into this inner dialogue with ourselves, are opportunities for becoming more conscious. Thank you for facilitating this here for us, Annette, by sharing and by letting us participate in your progress. Okay, to
Yeah.
let us witness your
Mm.
progress. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Maybe we're frustrated that we don't see progress. That is something valuable to share as well. Does anybody want to share? Okay, then we can move on to other subjects that you would like to talk about here for the remaining minutes of our monthly Heart Warrior meet. It's very quiet here today, so I don't necessarily prepare a certain topic. I just reflect on some of the things that are coming up for most Heart Warriors in these times. So we talked about some of that in the beginning. Does anybody want to share anything else, or has questions in regards to maybe certain sessions or certain topics that are popping up here in this environment, in this community? Okay, guys, then let's call it a session here today. Thank you for coming. Again, thank you, Annette, for sharing. This is a beautiful witness of what it could mean to feel progress in life, or, you know, what these insights, these deeper insights, what they can do for us. Thank you, everybody. You have a wonderful weekend and a good time. Bye bye.